Maybe a hoodie wasn't the best option for late November, I thought to myself. The rocks propelled end over end, skipping in a wayward curve as I kicked them down the dirt road. I couldn't stop shivering, though the wind had died an hour earlier. Midnight temperatures tend to crawl over your skin and make it hard to breathe. This chill, though, it felt even deeper. Maybe it was an unknown wind nipping past my layered clothing. Perhaps it was a guilty frost, settling on my mind like frost on a windshield as the dawn introduces a winter morning. Whatever it was, the guilt certainly didn't help. I rarely came upon a house, and the ones I did find were dark and shut up. Not one car had passed as I walked. When my shadow suddenly appeared on the road in front of me, however, I whipped around to see the headlights, the car ambling at a reasonable pace. I shot my thumb straight out, petitioning the unknown lights for a ride. It rolled to a stop next to me and the window rolled down. The driver, a heavy-set middle-aged man, looked at me with a tinge of worry. "Son, you must be freezing." I nodded my head furiously. "Where are you headed?" I hesitated, but I eventually told him. "The city," I replied. The man pondered over those words, as if examining them from all angles. Bay City was quite a drive from the countryside, especially at this time of night. "Well, hop in already. Let's get you warmed up and get you home." I didn't argue. Circling the car, I opened the door and crumbled into the passenger seat, looking straight down the barrel of the heat vents in the old Buick as we rolled away. The kind of chill I experienced that night was one you couldn't cure by immediate exposure to warmth. It would take time. Time to begin melting the ice around my veins. Time to allow me to breathe normally again. Time to feel comfortable, or whatever version of comfort I could ever experience from that point forward. "You live in the city then? What's got you all the way out here?" I didn't turn my attention away from the heat blasting from the vents. "Just visiting friends," I mumbled. "Oh yes, fun with friends, and where are said friends?" I shot a look at the old man, mentally telling him to mind his own business. He seemed to receive the message. "My name's Alan, by the way. You can call me Al, though. Only my wife calls me Alan, and that's when I know she's angry." The old man snickered. His chuckle had a tinge of crazy hidden underneath it, the sort of whimsical and carefree cadence that wise old men seem to employ. Still shivering, I gave up on my mission to warm myself for a moment. "I'm Ben, and thank you for the ride." "Oh, not a problem, Ben. I love going to the city. My wife is always badgering me to move out to the city one day. I tell her, I love the trees out here too much. And she says, 'Al, there are trees in the city.'" Al laughed, hearty and sincere. "Not like this," I tell her. Al looked out the windshield as if he were seeing the countryside for the first time. "Not like this." I returned my focus to the heat vents, desperate to absorb as much as I could. It only made me colder and my head slouched to my shoulder as I dozed off. My dream wasn't a hazy, tilted version of reality where the details are rearranged. My dream was a perfect replay of that night. I still felt the cold air, although the frost hadn't pierced me quite so thoroughly yet. I had scoped out his house for weeks. I'd never noticed cars at the house, and the few times I've actually gone up the driveway and peered through the windows had confirmed its abandonment. A large farmhouse, surrounded by forest with a small horse enclosure behind it, although I'd never seen a horse there either. I had concluded that the old farmer died long ago and left just 3 acres to die at a slower pace. So why not speed up the process? I walked through the forest, bracing the cold November air for what seemed like hours, and I finally emerged into the backyard of the farmhouse. I could already smell the burning wood, hear the crackling. I guess I'd loved fire since I was a child. The obligatory, "don't play with matches" from a concerned mother never reached me, and it never had the chance to reach me, I should say. Throughout years of foster care, my escapades with fire seemed to draw little bouts of attention. Much like the flames themselves, the satisfaction I could find from flames surged for a brief moment, and then swiftly died, yearning to be rekindled. Up until tonight, I never burned anything bigger than an old shed at the back of a field, and even that barely made the local newspaper. This would be my glory, a high I'd never yet experienced. I approached the house, kneeling by the back corner with a bottle of gasoline and a lighter. The simplicity of it all made me happy. Wasting no time, I emptied the bottle on the weathered siding and I sparked the lighter. The flames were hesitant at first, exploring their immediate surroundings as if afraid to venture out. But once they found their footing, however, they began to explore. Orange and red jumped up towards the second story, climbing the old house like a child scrambling up an oak tree. The flame stretched its arms around to the left and to the right, wrapping the worn structure in a fiery embrace. In a matter of minutes, the farmhouse that had stood for 100 years was rapidly facing its end. I felt a sick sense of accomplishment creep up within me, a disgusting pride that I reveled in. Fire blazed through my veins as it torched the shingles. Windows burnt from the heat and the siding melted down into hot, sticky puddles by the foundation. This was my best work yet. As the arsonist high was reaching its peak, it instantly plummeted. In the second-story window, a light turned on. I could see the silhouette of a woman scrambling down the hall to the adjacent room. I trailed her as the next light went on, and in its shadow I saw a child, a young girl. The chills set in. Standing before the burning behemoth, I felt a cold I'd never felt before. I scrambled to think of a solution, but I knew it was too late. The house was engulfed. Tears in my eyes, I turned and I sprinted back towards the forest. A few yards inside the tree line, I glanced back to see headlights pulling into the driveway. I raced away as fast as I could, never looking back. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I jolted awake, nervously glancing back and forth to reestablish my surroundings, just as the car came to a stop at the pump of a rural gas station. As Al got out to pump, I went inside in search of coffee or hot cocoa, something to hopefully warm me up. Nothing and no one occupied the gas station, other than the faint Christmas music falling from the speakers, and the skinny fellow behind the counter. I was in front of the hot cocoa machine when Al came inside. "Oh hey Al," the man behind the counter said. "Hi Marty, how you been?" Al replied. "I'm doing okay. Hey, I saw a couple fire trucks headed out your way earlier. Is everything okay?" My heart sank. All I could think about was that silhouette in the window. I don't think it was for my place. I must have missed them," said Al. "Well, that's good. I'm glad your farm is still intact." I immediately froze. It couldn't have been the same farm, right? I quickly set down my cocoa and I walked out of the store. I needed to be alone. I could walk home, not bearing to encounter any more reminders of that night's events. After I made it a few yards from the door, I heard the bell crash as it burst open again. Ben, where are you going?" Al shouted. "Thank you, Al. I can walk from here," I replied, speeding up my pace. Walk, yelled Al. I was just about to make it past Al's car when I felt a cold hand on the side of my head. But we're nowhere near the city. My head was slammed into the side of the car twice. I felt myself quickly thrown into the back seat as my consciousness faded. A familiar smell coupled with severe pain in the right side of my head woke me up as I regained consciousness, still freezing cold. I struggled to get a grip on the hazy environment, and it slowly revealed itself. I was in the back seat of a car. A Buick. Al's Buick. I could hear someone moving outside of the car, dumping some sort of liquid. I tried to move to see out of the window, but my attempts at movement were immediately denied. My arms and legs were strapped together and tied to the car itself. The panic slowly crept its way in, and I finally recognized the smell. Gasoline. Before I even thought to ask, a voice spoke. "Hey Ben, you doing alright in there?" Al asked, eerily sincere. I stared back at him through the rolled-down window, breathing heavily. "Make yourself comfortable. You're still cold, aren't you?" Al said with a smile. "Why don't I warm you up?" I couldn't stop shaking. Was he serious? He wasn't really going to. And I seemed to be getting colder. I was actually able to make out one word from them as I pulled in. "Do you want to know what it was, Ben?" I stared back, a mixture of terrified and pissed off. It wasn't anything profound, nothing deep and meaningful. No, they didn't quite get the pleasure of having an honorable final moment. It was help. Beneath the sound of crackling and popping and windows exploding, I heard my wife and daughter crying for their father and husband to help them. As I stood in the driveway, Al's cadence had gone from playfully creepy to terrifyingly serious. And seconds after I saw you dodging trees, running away from your grand masterpiece, the roof collapsed in on them, and I didn't hear much after that, Ben. I stared back with the same ferocity, tears cascading down my cheeks. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You see, Ben, you took everything from me tonight. Everything that I've ever loved. Everything I've ever known. You took that from me. I continued to choke back a wave of tears. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Yeah, I know you are, Ben. But you understand. Now I have to take everything from you. From your miserable, pathetic life, okay? Get comfortable." I burst into tears. I heard Al strike a match, a heavy gasoline smell still permeating my nostrils. There was nothing I could say to stop this, but the terror still manifested itself in pleas for help. It was ironic, I thought. The gasoline ignited. Hungry flames engulfed the car. A striking heat started to creep over my skin, and I could smell the thick, mounting rubber, the paint peeling, and the interior catching fire. The eager blaze wrapped its warm arms around the old Buick. I felt the heat rising rapidly. No sign of let-up. I looked down through tears to see my sneakers ignite, and I watched as the orange fingers danced and licked their ways up my pant legs, the fabric searing to my skin. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. The flames leapt onto my hoodie, acting as conduit for the flame to climb to my head, singeing my hair and drying my eyes quickly. My vision was 1,000 shades of dancing orange and red. As the searing pain overtook every sense, and all I could feel was the fire from every angle, I could only think of one thing. I felt warm.